Good morning. Okay, good morning, everybody. I apologize in advance for my raspy voice. I guess I just had a little too much fun this weekend. Feeling okay, just got the old raspies going here. So again, welcome. We're going to get kicked off right away here with Dimitri once he gets his video working. Dimitri, you there, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, there you go. There's the man.
Oh, yeah. Also have the raspy voice. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's a sign of a good time. Anyways, so how's it going? What's hey, Bank of Canada increased rates, all that jazz. What's happening in the mortgage world? Give us the update, man. Well, what's good?
Absolutely. It's all going down. We're all going bankrupt, Mike. It is what it is. Absolutely. Pack up, board up the house, pack up your bags, All joking aside, minor change, obviously. I don't think anyone's really noticed the difference, I'm assuming, on the realtor side of the deal. So far. So slight increase, obviously, in the prime rate, 0.25%, which was expected and delayed for about the last 4 months or so. So finally happened. Honestly, from an economic perspective, it's probably a good thing, right? I think rates kind of slowly moving up should, potentially, help the market normalize a bit, because a lot of the pent up demand from, buyers and that sort of thing was related to extremely low rates and sort of a big mad dash to buy real estate. And actually, it's funny. I read something actually last week in preparation for this, that the Bank of Canada sort of noted that they realized that the extremely low rate environment during COVID basically spurred on the real estate bubble that was created here. So they basically directly acknowledge that, which is interesting. Now, having said that, because they've directly indicated that, that means there's more probably rate hikes to come, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they are indicating as well that as early as the next meeting, I believe, is in May, or sorry, actually April or May, I apologize. The next meeting, they may increase as much as a 0.5% hike, which would be a total of 0.75% increase in about 3 months, which is probably the highest increase we've seen in prime in several years, not just since COVID, but that's a pretty high jump in potential increase in rates. But having said that, in the real rate environment, like variable rates are still half the cost of fixed rates right now. So it's one of those things where my advice to clients, frankly, hasn't changed, to be honest with you, where like if I was getting a mortgage today, I don't think realistically I would lock in to a 5-year fixed rate. I would likely play the weighted average game where I would take a payment similar to a fixed mortgage on a variable rate, take my savings up front when the loan's the biggest, and sort of watch this happen. Because with this difference in rate, even if rates went up a full 1% more than they've already went up, you'd still be about a 0.5% lower than most long-term fixed rates right now. So which is in my world, a 0.5% difference is actually staggering. I mean, just to make a bit of a mortgage advisor joke, but my clients nickel and dime me over 0.1% 24/7, So the idea on 5-year fixed rates. So if there's an actual difference of a 0.5 point, the reality is that's a big difference. I mean, and it should be kind of celebrated as an opportunity to save money, in my opinion. But I mean, there's definitely some sort of differences of opinion. I am seeing a lot of people say you have to rush to lock into the longest, rate you can get. So, I don't want to say that my advice is necessarily foolproof, but there definitely is some flexibility in different people's opinions on what to do with rates. I welcome any questions on this. I'll be honest, I've never really, worked through in the 15 years I've done this job. I never really worked through a situation where there's this much rate uncertainty. So, obviously let me know if you have any questions or honestly opinions you'd like to share during this, but, maybe what are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah. Well, I was curious on if you're seeing clients, customers come to you and really try to lock in that rate hold, and typically speaking, how long is that rate hold? Are you guys willing to be doing that right now?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So that's a great question, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. That's going to be the one thing I wanted to bring up, is that rate holds actually vary a bit lender to lender in terms of how they work. Okay. So for example, a lot of lenders do 90-day rate holds. We do 120-day rate hold here. I think most of the big banks do the 120-day. So it's kind of nice. And the trick is, to give you an example at CIBC, when we do a rate hold for a client, what we care about is the day they buy a house, not the day they move into the house. A lot of lenders, most lenders, treat the closing date as the rate hold expiry maximum. So the idea is you have a 120-day rate hold, you buy a house 30 days from now, but you don't move into 125 days after the day you held the rate. Rate hold doesn't work. Rate hold expire, you get new rates, whatever the rates may be. So luckily at CIBC, one kind of interesting feature is that all we care about is the day you actually purchase, not the day you close. So you can move into a house 6 months from now, 7 months from now, and still get access to that rate hold as long as you bought within the 120-day period. And then further to your point, yes, clients are absolutely interested in locking in rates. And what we're trying to do at like the branch network is trying to inform clients as much as possible that even if you're like slightly hesitant about buying a home in the next 4 to 6 months, you might even explore the idea, do a rate hold, because while variable rates maybe still be attractive, by the time you actually buy, that may not be something you want to do. And so we want to basically give people the flexibility to be able to take advantage of the best rate they can get, assuming this is a problem. I actually have many clients, for example, that bought homes in December, January that aren't moving in until, let's say, May. They had longer closings for whatever reason. Either they bought a show home or whatever the case may be. And now they're like, oh man, like their rate's 40 basis points lower on a fix than what I'm offering a client today. So then they're taking advantage of that fixed rate, even if it's higher than variable, purely because it's like an expiring offer, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I mean, rate holds have never been more important than they are right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's interesting because especially at 120, that's, got 4 months. And if you're looking into the spring market here, well, 4 months is going to be pretty busy right now. So it's a good time to lock in to that rate hold. On the flip side, as you mentioned, we actually had a case, I was helping an agent through this, where they were with an institution and they would not, it was, the rate hold was only, they based it on possession date.
Yes.
And so they were having to negotiate possession dates. The seller couldn't do it. So they had to do like it will close early, but then you get to stay in the house, all that kind of stuff, and big occupancy thing, all because of a rate hold. So it's nice to know that, again, you guys are going off of purchase date and not possession date. That's big. It's a huge difference.
It is. And, I think some realtors might find this boring, but it's like in my world, it's actually like, frankly, one of the reasons I work at CIBC, to be honest, is these things matter when you're a mortgage advisor, because it's the slightest things that are actually a competitive advantage, in my opinion, in this type of market. And so it might seem like a small thing, but it's actually huge in this type of market. Actually, one thing I wanted to add to that is, as we've seen, obviously, a huge trend to new construction, right, over the last several months, last year, I should say. We offer the same thing for builds. Okay, so for example, if a person's going to build a house, as long as they have a contract and we have an application on X date, we can essentially honor the rates on that date, even if the deal closes 18 months later. Right. So if there is notable changes in rates, we can go back in time and offer that. Well, actually, none of our mainstream big five bank competitors actually offer that particular solution. So just kind of a specific feature of our rate hold policy that also applies to builds. So shout out to Virgilio and Lowen and some of those agents that are the big time builder agents, and Philomero and those guys that are doing that business. This is actually a unique thing that your clients could absolutely benefit from. So holla at me, fellas.
Gotcha. I wasn't even planning on shameless plugging stuff, but that's I didn't know that, and that's
why not?
No, it's great. Enjoy it. Yeah. Anything else that you're seeing kind of on your end with this, any other shifting landscapes? I'm curious on if there's anybody else who has questions, please throw them in the chat box or the Q&A box. I can read them out to Dimitri, but I'll say, I kind of deflected the question you asked people how I think, and you're the expert in this field, but what I can see, if anytime we've had interest rate hikes, when it's having stress tests, hikes, all those types of things, that's always, they're trying to sprinkle a little bit of cool water on the market to cool things down, cool demand down. And it typically kicks out, a small percentage of people, right? Anybody who's on the verge, on the bubble of buying or of getting to the neighborhood they want, they either adjust their expectations or they go leave the market. They save up some money to go back into the market. It hasn't been, I mean, this is going to be, again, if we're anticipating more hikes, this might be larger hikes. So we'll see. It's going to be perhaps unprecedented, but in anticipation of it, it typically, when they try to throw cool water, that's all it is. It's a little bit of cool water, but things keep going and the market adjusts, and it usually adjusts pretty quickly. And right now they're doing this also in what is, I'm going to shoot the stats in a little bit, we're poised for the next 4 months of insanity. So I don't see that affecting a whole bunch of people in the short term. Hey, maybe by the end of the year, who knows? But in the short term here, this next quarter, I don't think it's going to really slow down at all.
I agree. I actually think like a true cooling of the market in a traditional sense, where it actually, turns into like a buyer's market or something, right? I can't imagine. I can't even like imagine.
We're so far away from a buyer's market. It's not even, it's laughable to even talk about it. If anyone's curious, so it's just, we're very far away from it. Markets don't change overnight. They would have to do like something like really drastic, like interest rates are 10% tomorrow, right? So something like that. That might be some cold water, but unlikely. I hope not.
I agree. 100% agree. Like, you know, it's an interesting thing. So I think from that perspective, I think it's like kind of, you know, it's the same process, I imagine, for most professionals going into the spring market. It's going to be probably pretty crazy. If there's any good news, sometimes I find in past years where there's been some, you know, rate instability and that sort of thing. Sometimes anybody that's been sitting on the sidelines now thinks that it's the peak of the market. So they, you know what I mean? So if they've been waiting, they've been insecure about it, or they're waiting through the Omicron situation or whatever. The reality is now they're going to say, okay, well, rates are going up, so that means the market might cool a bit. So, for example, like it may cool a bit. In our reality, it'll be almost nothing, probably in practical terms. But from a client's perspective, actually, that might be an impetus to consider making a move. So like I might suggest it, like if I was a realtor right now and getting feedback like this, I'd probably talk to clients, say, hey, just a heads up, because rates are going up, there's a possibility that's going to actually change the demand of the overall real estate market over the next 12 to 18 months. If that's the case, if you're waiting, you know, because the market's going up and you're concerned about what to buy potentially to move, that possibly is going to be changing over like the course of the year. So we should probably start that home search now and start preparing when a good time is to sell your home. But also, you know, the longer wait to sell your home, it's possible we won't get the same type of bidding war situation we might now. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And I think it changes the dynamics of the conversation a lot, in my opinion. So hoping that that's how this plays out. I mean, that's the government's intention, by the way, by changing rates a little bit, is to kind of start nudging the conversation away from just buying and holding real estate to be able to flip it more. So we'll see how that plays out. Yeah. And I should say that the Bank of, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, go for it.
The Bank of Canada, by the way, has done this a lot, where they've indicated a whole lot of rhetoric and then done very little. So this is a very minor change so far. So we'll have to see. But I would say this: if we get a 0.5% increase in May, okay, like you're going to start seeing probably a changing of the sort of overall dynamics of this market. Probably more so, and more Canadians being like, oh, okay, it's time that I start making decisions. You know,
right.
So we'll see. Yeah. Anyway,
and it's funny, even if it does go up, you know, and rates even get into that, you know, we're into 3, 4, 5, it's still historically speaking ridiculously low, right? Like historically speaking, and again, all the young guys out there, and I've been including my first house I bought at 504, I remember, and I was doing the happy dance when I got 504, right? And now that was like, what are you talking about? It seems ridiculous, but that's what it was. That's 15 years ago, and it was just fine. So we all find a way to do it. But that is, I'll say for the realtors, absolutely, it's that, you know, you're not buying, you don't live in the price, you live in the payments, right? When you buy a house, you're buying the payments. You're not buying, if you're getting mortgage, if you're paying cash, another story. If you're getting a mortgage, you're buying the mortgage payment. You're buying that, right? You're not buying the price. So it could be $1 million, but depending on the interest rate, completely different payment, right? So 800 at 5% and $1 million at 2%, it's the same payment. I don't qualify that on the math because I didn't do the math. I'm just saying, but that's what it can mean, right? So it's not about $1 million. It's about the rate. It's about the monthly payment if you're getting mortgage. So, yeah, that's all interesting stuff for sure. Does anybody have any questions? There's a question in the box here. It says, the question is CIBC lending guidelines for lending more strict than other banks?
That's a good question. No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think generally speaking, our guidelines are, you know, more or less the same as the other big 5 banks, and similar for 8 clients to, you know, the credit union system and that sort of thing. Right now, you'll find though is that like with lenders like RBC, TD, CIBC, and that sort of thing, you know, these institutions have the highest volume, right? So they're going to be pickier possibly than obviously like a B lender, private lender, etc. So there are clients we say no to. Like it is what it is. You know, we don't approve every client. We're not a bad credit lender, and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, I wouldn't say so. No, not really. It depends what kind of client we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like that's just the nature of the situation and what kind of market we're catering to. So not overall, I would say no.
No, exactly. But again, like you mentioned, not a B lender. You're not going after the, I'll use my words carefully here, but the people who shouldn't be buying houses. So.
Well, maybe so. I don't know. I mean, it depends on your perspective, right? Like I know like many of my buddies who are mortgage brokers and things, right? Like they completely run their business on the B side essentially, right? Like that they prefer actually that market. It's lucrative and there's an opportunity to help a lot of good people that frankly just don't maybe fit the box as much, right? So I don't deny that the big banks are sort of, they have a box they want to fit, but that's also why they're a great stock to own, guys, because our clients don't default. It is what it is, right? So that's the nature of what we do. So, and most Canadians fit those boxes. Keep in mind, they say about 4 to 5 clients can qualify for a traditional mortgage that are in the market. So, yeah.
Right. Cool. Awesome. Let's just see if there's any other questions for Dimitri. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's it, buddy. I appreciate you jumping on again. Appreciate your insight and giving us a little insight on what's going on. Unless do you have any other closing remarks or things that you want to, that I missed or did we talk about?
No. Thanks again, guys. Congrats to the February top producers. I think I saw a post the other day about that. So, good. I hope everyone did well. Good luck this spring. If I'm not on a call right away, we'll keep in touch and reach out to me if you have any questions. Good luck, guys. Cheers.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dimitri. All right. Boom, 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 boom. Alrighty, so there was Dimitri. And it's funny, we're gonna parlay that. Why does it keep on saying that my sharing is paused? Can everybody see my screen right now? It says FYI. Can somebody throw it into the chat box? Oh, this thing's really acting up lately. Everybody see my screen? It says FYI. Yes. Okay, we're good. All right. Okay, so a few FYIs on that note. So one of them, just a little friendly request from our wonderful conveyancing staff. If you're doing a condo deal, please include the cooling off period on the condition spot. Ooh, my voice is just shows the logo. Which logo? Royal LePage logo? What the dickens? All right, I'm screen sharing now. All right, I'm going to do it the different way. Oh boy. Oh boy. There we go. Now it should be good. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. Just checking the chat. There it is. Okay, beauty. So FYI's when doing a deal, again, a condo deal, put the cooling off period in the conditions. It just will really help out the staff so that we know when the cooling off period expires. We can mark a firm, send the lawyers, all that kind of wonderful stuff. Otherwise, we're like going through, or the staff have to like go through pages and pages of offers, find out when the offer acceptance was, go make sure your form is in, all that kind of stuff to figure out the cooling off date and whatever else. So then that way we know it's conditional, we know when the cooling off period ends. So please put it in the condition spot when you are selling a condo. Attached into the email yesterday, and I'll show you again, is electronic funds form. So e-transfers are becoming much more popular right now. And so we find right now when, there's been some confusion sometimes people send in a deposit into email to Zdenka, and she's like, well, what is this for? And we have to track people down, and then you forget to do receipt of funds record for it because you need the actual account numbers, all this kind of stuff. So we created a form that's going to be on the hub as well. I'll show you in the next slide, but it's just a form to fill out. So if your client wants to e-transfer money, again, quick rule about e-transfers, we will accept e-transfers from our own clients, but not other clients. Okay, so RE/MAX clients, outside brokers clients, we're not doing that. If we have a client, we can accept e-transfers from them. So there is just a form that is going to be needed in order to accept e-transfers. Voice is tough. I'll get to that form in just the next slide. Also, Z's on holidays next week. And the Main Burner Anderson, the RICO one, is down until further notice. That's probably going to be a couple of days. They're coming in, the motherboard or whatever fried. And so they need to order a new one, get it in, and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it's only a few days by the end of the week. We're hoping, fingers crossed, and we'll keep it posted, but just FYI on that. There is the e-transfer form. So you can see there's actually forms for, depending on daily limits. This is where things get confusing, and this is why the need for the form. So there's a bunch of different instructions on here on how to do everything, which is great. But there's room for 4 different transfers, right? So if your limit's 3,000, you're doing a $10,000 deposit, well, you're going to have, 4 deposits of 3, 3, 3, and 1, right? So there's room on the form for up to 4. If you need more, use two forms. Hopefully it can just be done in a few different e-transfers there though. Yeah. So that was emailed out. You should have it in your agenda notes. Save it. It's fillable form on PDF. It's also going to be up on the hub. Alrighty. Upcoming training, a couple new ones here that I have not talked about. So I'm going to do on March 17th at 1:30. I'm going to do it live in Henderson in person. And it will be, I will record it and I'll stream it for sure, but it's better to do it in person if we can. And things are opening up a bit here. So I like to do it in person. Henderson just has more room. So I apologize for anyone who has to do a little bit of driving, but right. I guess gas is expensive, but we're realtors, so we're used to it. Anyways, if you come out to Henderson, we're going to do it at 1:30 on March 17th. What the topic is going to be here, it says everything you need to know about starting teams. So if you're in, I read a couple different sessions for our coaching groups, and it's probably right now, even with our other brokers I'm talking, it's probably the number one question. People like knock on the door and say, hey, got a minute? What's this whole team thing? How do I start one? How do I join one? Should I? And the answer is usually an hour long. So it's not just a yes or a no. There's all kinds of things you need to know about starting team. We've been running teams and helping teams now for a number of years. We've got a lot of them. We've got some things down to a pretty fine-tooth system here. So if you are interested in even thinking about starting a team, if you're thinking about joining a team, we're going to take it from that end of things too. If you're just curious about what the hell is this team stuff, take it in, right? I'm going to go from A to Z, all the nuts and bolts about everything that you need to know about starting it, about teams in general. So this is structure, like what is a team structures, compositions. We're going to go into compensation, is in the what to pay, what to charge, how the expenses work, value proposition, all that kind of stuff you need to know about teams. March 17th, hopefully about 2 hours long. I'm going to try to keep it under time. March 17th. Please let Cassandra know because we are going to do it in person. So please let Cass know so that we know we have enough room. Okay. April 6th, very excited to announce this one. It really just got announced. We just got confirmed yesterday. So I don't have any of the cool marketing stuff yet for it, but April 6th at 12 o'clock, it's 3 hours. Special guest, Jason Pantana of Tom Ferry. If you have any exposure to Tom Ferry training at all, Jason is the marketing dude for Tom Ferry. So this guy is a marketing expert. That's what he does, is he trains realtors on their marketing. Again, probably my second most asked question is, hey, what do you need help with? They'll say marketing, which is a huge word and it means all kinds of things. So bring in an expert. It is going to be over Zoom. And this is going to be a really cool opportunity. Again, it's with my big broker group that I share with across Canada. And so we're zooming in Jason for 3 hours. So you'll be with some other Royal LePage agents across Canada. The only Royal LePage though in Winnipeg and in Manitoba doing this is us, of course, but we will have some other provinces joining us. So again, April 6th, 12 p.m. Do not miss this. This is going to be, it's amazing stuff. Jason is the bomb and this guy is an expert at it. So April 6th, 12 o'clock, 3 hours, book off the calendar. This is going to be tough to get through the whole thing with my voice, but we're going to do it. Also, the weekly webinar lineup, there's a couple different ones I mentioned last week, March 8th, which is today. 7 strategies to nurture your business and niche marketing is on March 10th. So through Royal LePage, there's some great webinars there. You can check it out, rlpnetwork.com/training. All righty. I got my time. Last week, we went over really the stats got released on the Tuesday that we started our Ignite meeting. So we went through basically some activity and sales. So I wanted to drill home a little bit more into some finer details, go to some pricing and some other metrics here that I found are interesting with the market right now. So just quick recap, you know what sales are doing. Sales are down compared to last year. However, they are up compared to what's normally happening, right? Last year, 2021, it's going to be a flagship year. You know, those are numbers we probably won't hit. Well, again, I mean, sure we will at some point, but it's going to be a pretty lofty goal, right? It was a very accelerated year, right? Inventory, is low, which we know. This is what's interesting, though. If you do look at it, even compared to last year, again, the market is tighter, though, right? Sales and inventory are both down, but you can see here, sales active listing 83% compared to 78% last year. So you're all the pandemic realtors, it's even a tighter market, and we see this, and we're going to see some other numbers for it. But you see it, you see what's going on every week. There's some pretty nutty stuff going on. But again, just to keep in mind what you look at, this is what a normal February looks like: 25 to 30% sales active listing ratio, which was still considered to be a seller's market. that's why, you know, if you just watch with me and Dimitri, I'm like, there ain't no buyer's market coming soon, because this was still a seller's market, or closer to balance, right? But that's 4 months of inventory, which is close to balance, but it's hinging on seller market sort of towards balance. Then we're at 83. We're nowhere near buyer's market. Okay, buyer's market is going to be 6 months of inventory, right? Which has got to be at least in the, you know, that's around the 15% range, and we're at 83 for sales active listing. Okay, that's your absorption rate. So we're ways off from the buyer's market. That ain't changing anytime soon. Condo sales again continue to outperform, right? Doing really well up there with decreased inventory. So again, inventory is down big. Sales are actually up, so condos are getting a lot of upward pressure, and you'll see that in the pricing charts that I have coming up. So anyways, that's the broad overview. As you saw there, the tightness of the market with the absorption rate, with high sellers market, this was interesting. So even compared to last year, we're down in sales, or sales are slower, but your sale to list price ratio is way up, right? So even at the peak of the market last year, which was in, you know, the April, May, just under 106%, I think it was 105 something, a rate of 105, we're at 107.1, I believe it is right now. Last January and February, right, we were at around 100%, about 107. So the market's extremely tighter, and you're seeing that because you're writing with the offers that you're writing, the offers that you're getting, the average, it's just, I don't know that I've never seen this, a better time to sell a home. For the record, this is just what it looks like. I could not overlay these graphs. It's just limited capabilities with Matrix. But you can see here, this is actually on the right-hand side of the screen is the rural market. So this is areas R1 to R29, and this is Winnipeg when it comes to residential detached homes. So even them, they can see they're at a higher point than they usually are last January as well. But this is where you can just sort of see some of that relief coming in the outside rural markets. That's why, you know, some people prefer not to pay 107% over, they're paying just 100%. So it was just showing you the difference there between what the rural market's doing versus Winnipeg. And again, we're pretty used to this now. In Winnipeg, this is the average sale price. Again, some pretty interesting things in February, right? So February residential detached sales in Winnipeg 1 to 9 finished at $448, so just under $450,000 for a residential detached home, which is up 17.6% from last year, 40% from 2020. Okay, so again, if you see anybody who's even bought their home in 2020, give them a call. Hey, do you want a list? You just made 40%. You just made 40% for doing nothing, right? So maybe they'd like to take advantage of that. In the rural market, similar trends here. They had a bigger jump actually, right? And again, a lot of this comes from new construction, right? That's where the bedroom communities are building a lot more, and building costs have gone up. So you see a lot of that. It's not necessarily just the same comparison. It can be just some of that increase can be attributed to new construction, but 23.9% from 2021, up 30% from 2020. You can see it was pretty not that well. It was going up. That's Winnipeg, right? That was pretty flat here, or 315, 330, and then just of course this big jump to 413. This is what condos have done. I thought it looked better in this view, but maybe not. Anyways, up 6.3% for condos and 18% from 2020. So condos always kind of have this yin and yang, up and down a little bit, and condos can kind of get skewed as well by new construction. You know, one big giant project coming to market can skew numbers, but right now it's looking like things are good for condos, and actually seeing some price increases after being actually down for a couple of years after a huge influx of supply. This is a chart I wanted to show you. You know, I know some people don't like graphs out there, but I love graphs. And this is a graph that I find very interesting. This is all sales, all areas. So this is just the number of sales. This is basically how much money, like what's out there, your piece of the pie, for lack of better words, how much activity is in the market, all sales, all areas that you can possibly sell in the Winnipeg Regional Real Estate Board since January 2018. This is how the market goes. And I know we know this, but I like to show it to you. Here's what happens, right? January, there's a dip every year. There's a valley, and it's in January, in December, okay? This is the slowest time of the year. And then it picks up in spring, if you haven't noticed, right? And then it usually peaks between May and June, and then it starts to trickle down. Sometimes there's a blip, right? There's a little blip where it kind of things come up, and it usually has weather related, but it's usually around that September, October, November. Sometimes there's a little bit of a blip. You can see here too, right before end of last year, there's a little blip where sales actually ticked up. 2020, you can see right here, just like straight down, there was no blips. But usually there's a little blip. Here is your pandemic. You haven't noticed. But why I'm showing you this is what can we learn from history here? Okay. Yes, I don't like using the word unprecedented too many times because we use it a lot, but we don't know what's going to happen. But things are, generally speaking, looking like things are opening up. And so what that means is this is going to be the shape of the year. Okay. It's just a matter of how high are the highs and how low are the lows and how wide is it, right? You can see here in 2020 and last year, some of these graphs are a little bit steeper in the peak. This one, again, very subtly, but this has a wider peak, right? These 4 months, it's a little bit wider here at this peak than it was here, right? So you just had high activity for longer periods of time in this one. So what can we tell is right now, when I look at the numbers and see how the market is shaped, we're down from 2021 in activity and things like that, but we're ahead of 2019 in another month. So I'm kind of looking at, it's kind of going to be a merger of these 2 years. It's not going to look exactly like 2020, but I bet the peaks are going to be somewhere around here. It can be less than 2021. And the valleys, you can see the valley wasn't as low as 2019, but it was lower than 2021. So basically what I'm going to say is we're going to expect like a 2019 type of year. I think, a merger, between 2019 and 2020. So you can expect to see maybe some peaks, around this spot, and maybe the valley. Well, we already had the valley, right? So all this to say is I want this to be somewhat of an encouraging note, but also, hello, you are in the swing. You're in this graph right now. Okay, so some agents, this is hopefully a little message of hope for you. If it's been a slow start to the year and December was bad too and all that kind of stuff, you can see here's where we're at. We've got a long way to go up. Interesting enough, I don't have the chart for this, but I was looking at it. And when these things peak, it is completely related to weather as well. I went back through some weather patterns in Winnipeg because I had some extra nerd time, I guess, today or this morning. And I looked at that, and you'll see this peak will come a little later this year, unless we get some sort of heat wave. If you look at 2021, when we peaked, this was March, I believe, because we had a very warm March. It was March, April, May is around here. We're not going to see that. We're not going to get up there for that March because of obviously the weather we've had. February's average temperature was like 15 degrees lower than it was last year, something stupid like that. So all that to say is you're in the upswing right now. The upswing is going to be a little longer because that peak is not going to come in April or May. It's going to come, it'll probably come closer to May or June, as we kind of see in these other months here. So all it is you're in the upswing right now. It is the time to run. It is the time to go make hay while the sun's shining, because this is good. We're entering into these sweet spots of the market. And especially, as Dimitri said, if you have a 4-month rate hold, it's going to be a busy spring. Okay, so buckle up. Oops, that was from last week. Pardon me. If anybody has any questions or comments on the market, I'm happy to, or those market stats, happy to take a minute while I recompose my lungs. All right. Okay. Quick recap. We talked about branding last week, just part 1, right? And what is an actual brand, right? We had all these different definitions, right? We had an emotional aftertaste. It's what Google says it is, right? It's what people say when you're not in the room, right? And this is the one I always like. It's a brand. It's somebody's gut feeling about a person, product, or organization. And that's what your brand is. And so we've looked at different brands, what your gut feelings were on all these different wonderful brands, right? And then we talked about, okay, you have a brand, right? Whether you like it or not, people have a gut feeling about you, right? So the question is, how in control are you of that? And is that gut feeling what you want them to feel about you, right? And that is what good branding is. And brand messaging is that it is synonymous. Here's what I want people to think about me and my brand as a realtor and whatever else. And now, how are my messaging? How's my marketing? How's my communications? How are all those things supporting that so that they do think what I want them to think about me, right? So somebody who has that in sync would be a good brander and would have good branding, right? Because branding is the strategic process of shaping the mind of your customer, right? It's strategic, it's intentional, and it's you to shape the mind of the customer. That's what branding is, right? So the question I asked last time, at every point of contact, are you supporting your efforts to be known as what you want to do? Right? And this is what we're talking about. Okay, that's where branding shows up in marketing, shows up in your logo, shows up in your feature sheet, shows up in how you dress, shows up in the car you drive, shows up in your how your communications go, shows up in your social media, shows up in your weekend activities, all that kind of stuff. Maybe not weekend You know what I mean? We talked about Bill Thiessen. We talked about him just as a great little branding lesson here about, you know, he had a theme. He wanted to be the loft guy, the downtown condo guy, and everything he did supported that brand. Right? So they'll know who they are, what to do, how to do it, why you do it. Again, brands say, this is what I am, this is why I exist. If you agree, come alongside me, support me, recommend me to your friends. We talked about if the branding, what kind of a brand are you, what you choose, it always starts with why. I'm not going to replay the video from Simon Sinek, but I encourage you to take a look at it, right? But it starts with why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Who am I? And then it goes into your how you're doing it and what you actually do, right? There's Simon. I'm going to skip through that. Right, we talked a little bit about Starbucks. We talked about just the power of branding, that how they don't have to spend as much as some of the other major brands. And that's just how powerful, again, good branding can do. As we mentioned, there was a cup that wasn't even Starbucks, and they got $2.3 billion worth of advertising from a cup that looked like their cup, right? So the power of branding is important. And this is where we left off, right? We're talking about brand messaging. So brand messaging now, again, if you went through all the exercises, you kind of discover your why. Okay, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is how I want to be known. This is how I want the public to perceive me. This is how I want my clients, my other agents. This is how I want people to perceive me. Now you actually have to have the voice. What is the voice of your brand? And that's what brand messaging is the voice of how you shape your customer's perception. So I'll back up quickly here. Sally Hogshead is an amazing speaker. She's in the Hall of Fame of public speaking and things like that. She wrote a book, How to Fascinate, a while ago, and I've kind of studied it a little bit. And she identifies a few different types of ways to fascinate or captivate. You kind of use those words interchangeably today. Captivate an audience. So you know, right now, the human attention span is short. You're probably not even paying attention to me right now. You're probably looking at your phone, right? So that is just how it has. That's the way of the world. So your voice, again, not physical voice here, not like my raspy nonsense today, but your voice, your messaging, your tone, what you say has to be consistent and captivating. I don't know why I did it backwards there, but it's captivating and consistent, right? Consistency is key, right? You can't be, speak one way, have a brand that says this one day, and then all of a sudden it's the complete opposite the next. It has to be consistent, and captivating comes in. It has to grab attention, right? If you're scrolling and you're swiping, you only got a little bit, right? And this is not a great, I just went off there in my brain right now, but think about, I don't do this, promise you. But anyways, like dating apps, never been on one, but that's how it is, right? You swipe and you got a few seconds to captivate somebody. I just watched Tinder Swindler. So it's like, that you only got a few seconds to actually get somebody and look at them and captivate them with whatever you're saying or posting, whatever it is, right? So it's the same thing. This is just a quote that I love about kind of in the theme of branding and messaging. Do what you do so well that people can't resist telling others about you. Love that one. Okay. Oops. So I'm going to get into a few different styles here, right? So these are what we call the fascination or captivation styles. These are things that, again, you need to operate within your natural giftings, your natural wirings, and to what you're good at and to what you love to do, right? So one of the ways, the first one called the educator. And we're going to go through some fun examples here. We're going to poke some fun at some people too. So the educator, right, leverages knowledge and highly technical, right? This is the voice. This is the brand that is speaking right now, right? They teach consumer about their product, and that's how they build interest and loyalty. They kind of follow the feature, function, benefit, right? This is, hey, here's what it is, here's how it works, and here's why you should buy it, right? They use content marketing a lot and a lot of statistics, right? You kind of answer the question, did you know, or have you ever thought about this, right? That is what kind of the messaging is going to be from the educator, right? However, you can be boring or irrelevant if you're not careful, right? If you're just putting out useless stuff and just boring stats and maybe too many charts and graphs, maybe you become boring or irrelevant, right? So let's look at some brands here, right? You look at Mothers Against Drunk Driving, right? If you watch any of those commercials, those ads, right? That's a lot of statistics about, how horrible, how horrible drunk driving is. I threw A&W up there because they remind me it's always they're educating. That's a short little guy, right? And he's there and he's educating these people about, did you know that it's a grass-fed beef and all this kind of stuff? They educate about A&W. Now they throw a little bit of humor in there, of course, but they're kind of educating people about their burgers. And this one happened to me yesterday. It's called, oh crap, what's it called? Twidzler. Twiddler. It's not Tinder. Twiddler, I think it's called. And so these guys literally sold me doing this. I wasn't even paying attention. I was scrolling through. I had some downtime at lunch, and I was scrolling through, and I learned all about earwax. And these guys had a 2-minute Instagram video, and it made me watch the entire thing. And they sold me their stupid ear thing. And I'm like, oh, $20, sure. And I went and ordered one on the spot because I learned a lot about how much Q-tips are just pushing earwax into your ear canal, and it ruins your hearing. And I'm like, I can't really hear very well. I wonder if this is a problem. So I ended up buying one of these things. Okay. So this is an exact example. I fell for it, of somebody educating me to the point of, I think I need this. And I ended up buying one. Crazy stuff. When I think of realtors, I just, again, I'm get nothing against Bo. I like the guy a lot, but hey, Bo knows real estate. It's kind of the first guy I thought of with like the educator. Well, that's what he does. He's got podcasts and whatever else, and he provides tips and all that kind of stuff. And I follow him, and he's highly into the Bo knows real estate. He's branded himself that way. That's a guy who's branded himself as an educator. For the record, I'm going to throw some stuff up at realtors here. And it's more just because it brings it home and maybe a little bit more for you, but also I'm not including any of our own realtors in it because I don't want to get things thrown at me or anything like that. So, and again, everyone that I'm going to be showing here, I love and respect. I'm not going to poke any fun at anybody, but it is what it is. Okay. All right. The authority, right? The authority person, right? This is somebody who leverages position and authority in the industry. You're going to see this. Realtors love this stuff, right? They often compare themselves to others. They use words like industry leading or number one. We'll use past performance to indicate future success. Look at what I've done in the past. Look at all the happy clients that I've had. Look at all of the track record. Look at all of the awards, all the stuff I've done. That means I've done all of those things. Therefore, I'm going to be great for you, right? They'll use testimonials and reviews. They can calmly position themselves with luxury. Not always, but they can, right? But it answers the customer, or it answers the question the customer's had of, why use anyone else, right? That's what, why use anyone else? Look how good I am, how great I am. I'm the best, right? So if you look at some brands like this, I've got, Forbes up there, they're very exclusive. They got a list. This is our list. We're the authority on who's who and who's wealthy and who makes this list, right? It's the Forbes list of best, this and that, right? I think of Bounty, right? Bounty is the quicker picker upper. I know that's a catchy tagline, but what does every Bounty commercial do? All right, I'll show you some. Why not? I can show this one. Hopefully I don't get flags on Facebook for this because it's copyrighted. There it is. What's Bounty do? Here we go, 7-second ad. Well, I'm gonna make sure my volume is shared, just checking. All right.
2 times more absorbent and strong when wet. Just look how much longer Bounty lasts versus one of those bargain brand towels.
There we go, 7 seconds. I don't know why it was only 7 seconds, but that is bingo bango. That is authority, right? Look how much
is
better.
Is HelloFresh worth the price?
Oh boy.
Absolutely.
Ads like crazy, right? Here's how much better I am than my competitor. They really put it up there, and they show them I'm better than them. That's why you buy me, right? And is Bounty cheaper or more expensive, right, than your other leading paper towel, right? It's more expensive for mine, I believe. I don't do the shopping though. I think it is, right? This one was also, do you guys remember those ones? The Mac versus PC ads? Again, this was just a campaign that Mac did, but they put himself side by side. And it was, in this example, they were watching viruses, right? It's like, oh, I got all these viruses. He was coughing. Interesting because it's very pandemic-y, but nonetheless, and it says, well, Mac doesn't get any viruses. So they basically put themselves up against the competitor, and this is what we're better at than them. Therefore, buy me, right? So I'm curious, what do you think about when you hear that for a real estate agent, right? And again, just know this is the first person I thought of when I think of those. Thought of Lauren, right? That's what she's always done. I'm number one. I've sold a lot of homes. Look at my awards. I'm in the top 100 in the world. Yada, yada, yada. There's how many homes I sell every year, and you get the flyers in the mailbox. And again, nothing against her. I love it. But, and again, but that's how she branded herself as authority. Why would you listen to anyone else? Look at all the stuff I do, right? It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's just what they are. It's what their branding is. It's what their voice is. The heartstringer, right? This is this is where they leverage the call to something more, right? And this is actually probably one of the more common ones that you're going to be seeing nowadays as well here. But they use emotion to fascinate, how to captivate somebody, right? They use a cause to propel action. They want people to feel good about using their product, right? You're not going to hear a lot of feature, function, benefit. This is how it works. You know, this is those things like car commercials that just have somebody driving and being happy in the car and says nothing about the car, the price, but it's happiness, right? So they kind of pull on your heartstring, right? They want people to feel they're making a difference. And again, it could be very authentic, right? And when it is authentic, it can be extremely powerful, right? Because you have that way, people are coming alongside you because, hey, I believe what you believe. I'm fighting for what you fight for. I want to see that happen in the world as well. And so I will support you. I will endorse you because of what you stand for, right? So if you can think of any brands like this, there's a couple different examples here. This was, I just pulled this one up, but anyways, Dawn, soap, they sell soap, but hey, if you buy Dawn, you go with to save wildlife, right? And so they hope that you buy Dawn because you're going to save the animals. Always had an amazing campaign. If you Google like best ad campaigns ever, it always is actually one of the top 5 all the time. And it's a Like a Girl campaign, or the hashtag Like a Girl campaign. And what it means, and so again, running or being athletics and all that kind of stuff, not a lot to do with the actual product. They're not going into detail about that, but it was that cause that led people to go buy and support that brand. I have time. I'll show you this one.
There is a better way to make money with Amazon
this is one
than
from
selling
Dawn
physical
or
products. Introducing.
It's an older one, but still very powerful. Again, this is for soap, for lotion. Right? So it's crazy. That should elicit some emotion in you. I don't have a daughter, but it makes me a little PO'd that, oh my gosh, all this stuff is fake, right? And so how are you supposed to, again, it's a cause there that's going to, and again, I'm not saying they're trying to swindle you or anything like that, but they're trying to elicit emotion with that, try to make a difference. And at the end of the day, you're going to hopefully buy Dove soap, right? Yeah. Got some comments in there. Yeah, I know that was a powerful one. I like pulling up some of these old ones, right? So a lot of people know them. Okay. This is kind of the first person I thought of when I think of cause marketing is, she's a friend, Jennifer Berthlet, right? She does, where Jennifer stands in the world and what she believes in. And, this is an example of a book that she wrote, a kid's book, I haven't read it, but I'm just saying, like, she wrote that, and that was a picture I could find that actually symbolized this. But she's a person that, yeah, she has her beliefs. You know it, and you work with her, you support a cause, and that's what it is. There's other great ones. Sebastian Albrecht, I'll say, out of he's out of BC, I think, right, from Royal LePage. He's always raising money for the Shelter Foundation, doing the Trek for Shelters, all those kind of things, right? Again, you partner with that guy. It's like you're there for more than just real estate. So that's the heartstringer. The charmer is where a lot of people fall into and a lot of brands fall into. The charmer is they're leveraging likability, right? It's a friendly approach. Let's get along. Let's unite. Let's all get along, right? Let's get along to go along, right? They tell stories. They're not talking about features and functions. It kind of parlays really well with a heartstringer or a comedian, which we'll get to in a second, right? And they focus on service. They focus on relationships, right? And they often showcase partnerships. I'll give you some examples here, but this is the biggest and best one that you'll see here is Coke, right? Coca-Cola. Just as a bit of context, I'll just stop on Coca-Cola for a second, especially if you remember, when I think of Coca-Cola and Pepsi, Okay? I don't have the logo up there for Pepsi, but think of Coke and Pepsi. They're fundamentally the same thing. There's a slight difference in taste, right? But they're the same bloody thing. Yet Coke has made a complete, what do you think of Coke? I wish you guys were in the room here. What do you think of when you think of Coke, right? Where all their ads, right? It's polar bears sliding together. It's family. It's smiling. It's laughter. It's Christmas and whatever else. And they've branded themselves as this. They charm you with it. Pepsi, right? Well, they couldn't go in the same route. So even though they're the same bloody product, basically, right? Kind of like two realtors who do the same thing, just a little bit differently, right? What's Pepsi's image? What's Pepsi's brand? Same product, different brand. They're supposed to be young, youthful, right? Britney Spears, Super Bowl, halftime show, blah, 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 right? They're doing different things that way. They were trying to be young and hip and cool, right? So, and if somebody likes Pepsi over Coke, that's fine. There's a slight difference in taste. But you get the difference, like more or less, and just how you brand yourself. One went the charmer route, one went more comedian, more generational, I guess. But WestJet's the same way, right? How do you feel about WestJet? Oh, we just like WestJet better. Guess what? I don't actually like WestJet planes. I think Air Canada planes are better. Well, for the most part, some are newer, some are older. But by and large, I found WestJet were really small and cramped. But WestJet, you have the service, you have the friendly touch, you have the Canadian. We're all owners, all that kind of stuff. And they do the fun little videos. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to show the videos. This one here takes you to that WestJet commercial where they put Christmas presents on the conveyor belt, and all these Christmas presents came out for underprivileged kids, right? And so that's where WestJet always tugs on the heartstrings. Air Canada doesn't. That's also kind of why they suck. But nonetheless, that's the difference between Air Canada and WestJet, right? Similar planes, different vibes. Coke's here. Everyone's going to chime in on what their favorite pop is. Tim Hortons, same kind of thing, right? They're very, again, charming, trying to be very family friendly. So anytime you see like family or puppies, they're being charmed, right? This is kind of who I thought of, actually. And I couldn't find a good image of her, but this is Nicole Hacko. You probably know her. And it was really when talking about partnerships, right? And you can see what she's doing for the National Sales Conference, which reminds me, I have to go back to that. But the Nicole is great. She does partnerships with, she's got mascots at open houses now and all this kind of stuff. And then she partners with a lot of local businesses and interviews them and helps support them. That's what she is. What she's trying to leverage with her brand is she's trying to charm, right? And she does a good job with it. Then we get to the comedian, right? The comedian, this is, hey, they leverage humor, right? They focus trying to get viral content that gets watched and shared, right? Because they want more eyeballs. That's what they want to focus on, not subtle jokes. They want jokes that are going to get shared, right? It can be very highly effective. I think you guys would all agree with that. There can be traps to this, of course, and the traps is getting views but not driving sales. So a lot of people, hey, great, they watched your video, but no one called you, right? Potentially. The good comedians, though, and I'll just even go to like real comedians, like stand-up comedians, right? The best comedians are wickedly smart. They're geniuses, right? Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld, they're geniuses. No one would call them dumb, right? The only dumb comedians are the ones who can't, get jokes out of the bathroom. Everything else, great comedians are geniuses. And what a good comedian will do is if they're just, they have to be smart with their humor, but as well, if they're in front of a luxury client or a high value client, maybe they're concerned about, oh, you're just a funny realtor, I want someone who's good. They'll spin humor into creativity. That's what we'll say, well, do you want somebody who's creative, or do you want somebody who's just going to go do something boring? In this day and age, creativity really wins. And so instead of saying humor, you kind of use the word creativity. And that will help you win with luxury or higher net worth clients if they're not into humor. Right. So we know lots of these companies, right? It's Geico, Old Spice, Doritos. They're hilarious. And we laugh at them, and it will drive sales, right? But those are comedians. Can you think about what realtor comes to mind when you think of somebody who leverages a lot of humor, right? Matt Leonetti, yes. Okay. So I couldn't remember who it was. So Jay put in the chat box Matt Leonetti, because I was right. Who's the dude who's making these ridiculously funny videos? I guess that's his name, so you can look him up some other time. But the guy who I actually remembered his name, is Big Ben, right? Big Ben's a funny guy. You could see it's in his brand. Every time he's in a video, he's got pens in his shirt, whatever else. He's got a coffee in his hand. He's got sunglasses on. He's looking casual. You can't pull off comedian in a three-piece suit, right? Or very rarely, unless there's who's that British comedian? I remember his name. But anyway, some guys can pull it off. But nonetheless, right, that's an example of a comedic realtor. All right, last one here, called the Go Giver. again, these ones you've seen around, and it's very common. And again, there's very, very powerful as well. But this is where they'll leverage incentives, right? This is where go-givers use free, buy one, get one, don't pay until, limited time offer, right? They'll focus on value, right? On you get more, right? And this kind of assumes the consumer can't tell the difference between brands, right? If everything's the same, well, I'll go with this one because you just get a little bit more, right? Or you get some extra stuff where there's an incentive to buy it, so they'll actually do it, right? And a lot of times, this is why it's can be very powerful, is it appeals to logic. If somebody truly doesn't know the difference between the realtors, I don't know which one it is. Which one do you like better? I don't know. Well, this one, I get free legal fees with this one. So why not go over that one? Because I can't tell the difference anyways, right? So it appeals to logic. They get more for what the money is spent. That's what their appeal is, right? You can be very effective, but it can affect profitability. If you're giving away lots of stuff or cutting commissions or using free or whatever it is, okay, you have to really watch your profitability because it's shrinking, it's increasing your expenses. So you're trying to make it up on volume, right? So you have to just keep an eye on profitability if this is your style, right? Now, just one of the things you have to look out for is it can be one up. If it's like, well, I'm going to give you 5% off, well, the next person will go 6% off, right? Or whatever it is. So it can be one up because you're not winning based on anything else other than logic, and you can just out logic somebody. Bad grammar, good point. Right? So when you think of some brands like this, oh, there we go. Right? So, I mean, not necessarily you think of Shaw as an example. I think of like any communications network, right? They're just always 3 months free if you sign up now, that kind of thing. You know, Leon's Furniture. I got to do this one because it's just too funny. It kind of they're using humor to go with it, right? You don't have to stick to all these; they do overlap. But this is the best example I could think of. Actually, is you know, buying booze. Sometimes it's like, oh, like I don't know, I don't really have a strong preference for my rye, to be perfectly honest. I like them all, or vodka, whatever it is. And there's, well, sometimes you get the little extra bottle or you get a little gift with it, right? You're like, oh, well, I'll just do that one. Why? Because, well, for that whiskey, I get the same thing. This one, I get a free coaster, or I get a corkscrew, or I get another little Milsambi bottle. So I'm going to buy that one, right? You guys have probably done it, right? So I'm not going to throw any, but this is, you know, we have some in our office as well, but they do a great job of it. But this is kind of the thing, right? Use me and get, you know, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, you're going to get free stuff. When you use me, I'm going to actually give you more for your money than the next person. It's extremely powerful. And the agents who are using this, they do well, a lot of them, right? But that is, you know, those are just examples there of somebody in that fascination style, right? So all of those styles, again, you can overlap on some of them. This comes down to, again, remembering, you know, back to your brand and the messaging, right? What is the voice of your brand? What are you going to put out there, right? And again, you can't throw, I'm going to be this goofball comedian this day, and now I'm going to focus on, I'm going to be this hardcore educator. You have to have some consistency to your brand. And you can overlap into some of them, right? You can do an educational video that has some humor to it, right? You can have, especially, you can charm with a little bit of, with some go-getter. Like you can cross some of these over, right? But it's just really hard to go in one camp totally and then switch to the other camp, because it's not going to be authentic, because nobody is perfectly balanced in all of those areas. You're not going to be perfectly balanced in personality types, or in strengths, skills. It's impossible. So where do you want to go? What lane do you want to run in? Pick it. And again, it comes down to, are you supporting efforts to be known as what? Right? And your brand messaging is going to help you get there. And do that brand, again, so well. Whatever it is, use that voice, use that captivating style, whatever you're picking, so well that people can't resist telling others about you. Before we go, let's be able to log up. I forgot one thing on the old agenda, and I got to throw it out there, is, giving a plug for the National Sales Conference, which of course is in Winnipeg this year. We're very excited to host. There's a lot of different parties and things going on right now. So I want to just get you know of a couple of different ones. And also that you can do stuff, right? I think there's going to be close to like 1,500 delegates coming, most likely, or around there. Call it 1,000 just for easy math, right? So there's not many venues that hold 1,000 people. So if you want to leverage networking across the country, which is extremely powerful, and harness the power of referrals across country, right? A lot of people move out of Winnipeg, a lot of people come back to Winnipeg, right? It's migratory business we're in. You can host events, different sponsorships, etc. So what I'm just going to kind of throw out there a little bit is our Slice for Shelter. This is a golf tournament we're doing on Monday, September 12th. CIBC, I should have given props to Dimitri, and those guys are being our title sponsor, right? Oh, that's from our shindig a couple years ago. Good picture, Brett. Anyways, right, so shotgun tee off at 11 a.m., right? You can register for this, but what I would highly encourage you to do is to sponsor a hole, right? You want to become a sponsor, you'll hit loan more. We're getting some sponsorship stuff together. But if I'm you guys right now, I'm getting a hole, right? I'm gonna get a hole, and I'm going to have something fun going on there, do some shots or whatever else you need to do. And what you can do then is everybody coming around here, we're going to really hope that the other delegates from around the country are going to get it, and you get to sponsor a hole, or you can sponsor carts. Cart sponsors are always great, by the way. It's the most bang for buck is there's somebody staring at you for 5.5 hours, basically, on the cart. It's always a good one. So if you're interested in having some sponsorship opportunities, you can hit the Learn More button here, and it'll go to, I was just going to open up Cass's email here to Cass. So we're getting some promotion material together, but we need sponsorship or curious about it, talk to Cass. As well, we're doing a ride transfer service. So all Roll the Pages and agents here are, we want you to volunteer for this. So instead of somebody coming in, taking a cab from the airport, you can actually pick them up and take them into the airport, right? And all the money that we raise, we're gonna have a QR code that they can scan and donate directly to shelter. So instead of paying a cab or an Uber, they can donate money to the Shelter Foundation for their ride. And what do you get to do? You get to talk to somebody, some realtors from another place for half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is in the airport, build that relationship and have an opportunity to get referrals, which makes more money, right? So a couple different opportunities there to get involved. And again, in addition to attending any of these things, in addition to joining the conference as well, make sure you register for the conference. And yeah, that's it. So I think things fill fast. Now, good news about Winnipeg, we don't have to spend the extra money on the hotels, right? So it's not going to fill up, but make sure you get your registrations in, because there definitely is a lot of, there'll be a lot of events will fill up fast. I'll quickly show you, sorry, 2 more minutes here, not even. Oops, that's the wrong one. Yeah. National Sales Conference, click the wrong one. This is also all on royalpageevents.ca. Where's I trying to, where's the agenda? I just saw the agenda. I literally looked at the agenda earlier today. Where is it? Nuts. Anyways, I can't find it right now, but the agenda, just letting you know, a couple of this cool special events in addition to some awesome speakers. There is an event at a pop-up dinner at Farm with Mandel Hitzer from Deere and Allman. We're having dinner in a big, massive field all together as Royal Page agents. I don't know what field it is, but it's going to be in the farmer's field. That farmer table serve dinner for like 1,000 people. It's going to be freaking cool. And then the second dinner, the third dinner is actually at the Canada Life Center, formerly known as MTS Center, having a whiteout Jets party. They're going to do all kinds of cool stuff for us there. And we have, I think, having dinner on the ice, or if it's on the actual ice, but in the rink anyways. Whether or not it's on ice, I can't confirm, but it's at the MTS Center for a big dinner there. So lots of cool stuff. Register for the National Sales Conference today at royalpageevents.ca. All right, that is it for me this week. Thanks for putting up with my horrible voice, and I will see y'all when I see you.